Hello, I'm Karen Hollenbach and welcome back to the LinkedIn Marketer podcast. Today I want to explore a big, perhaps uncomfortable question. Is marketing a noble profession? And why does this matter? Well, when you strip away the jargon, the technology, and the shiny dashboards, marketing is fundamentally about influence. It's about deciding whose stories are told, which is one of the reasons I love it, whose voices are amplified, and what messages reach people's minds and hearts. That's powerful. And with power comes responsibility. So the question of nobility. Is marketing noble? So too often marketing gets dismissed as manipulation. Well, certainly in my mind it can. And when my son announced to me that he was going to do a Bachelor of Business Marketing, I was keener on the idea of him doing economics because I feel like the world might need economists more than marketers right now. Is marketing just another way to sell more, be faster, be louder, more stuff that goes into landfill? Well, maybe. There's another way to look at it. There's a deeper way to view it. Marketing at its best is about connection. It's about matching the right people with the right ideas, services, maybe also products if they really need them, and things that improve their lives. And I'd also like to think make the world a better place, and somehow have a positive impact. So when I think about nobility in marketing, I think about intent. I think there are professions that are more noble. And what I'm keen to do from the perspective of being the LinkedIn marketer is to consider, how do we show up in a way that feels meaningful? So why are we doing this work? Is it to make a positive impact, to educate, to serve, or simply to drive numbers on a report? So I want you a bit deep today, and it's something I've been thinking about in the context of what I do and the difference I want to make in the world. And so this brings me to this concept of content marketing, the principles on which the Elevate Map and the work that I do is based, and the revival really around content marketing. So you might, if you're familiar with content marketing, you'll hopefully also be familiar with Joe Pulizzi, who's the founder of the Content Marketing Institute. So since sold it, I believe, moved on to other things, has a really interesting podcast where he talks about content marketing and is it having a renaissance. So Joe Pulizzi was one of the first to crystallize this idea of content marketing, that marketing isn't just about selling, it's about providing value through content. And he's got a really interesting story around establishing that business with his wife and what he learned. And I'll put the link in the show notes. So content marketing is about building trust over time, not forcing a quick transaction. And we're seeing a revival of this approach with how brands and organizations are showing up. And I think there's this, of course, there's the element of corporate social responsibility. I mean, there's a big question around how we should be measuring success, economic success. Should it be growth and the GDP model, or should it really be around principles that have a positive impact? And if you're interested in this space, do check out the Purpose documentary and this idea of the well-being economy. So we are seeing a revival of content marketing, and more professionals are realizing the written word, one of my favorites, still matters. And print, yes, print is making quite a comeback. And again, I'll put in the show notes and give you the timestamp for the discussion that Joe Pulizzi has in his podcast about this. So what's at the heart of this? I think people are craving depth. They want something tangible, something they can hold, mark up. I know that's why I like borrowing books from the library. I don't mark them up. I only mark up books that I own, and things that they can return to. So lovers of the written word are finding their voices again in a world that often feels fleeting and shallow. And I think that's probably why Substack as a platform is performing so well too, where people are retreating to that quieter part of the internet. And if you haven't followed me over there, do go over and do go over to Substack and say hello. I've got 2 publications there. So Confessions by KPH, which is my more personal writing, and Elevate with KPH, which is where I'll be providing a lot more resources over time. Depending on when you're listening to this, it could be where I am providing a lot of resources to help you elevate your LinkedIn presence with my framework, the Elevate Map, simple framework to help you get your head around LinkedIn. So content marketing, this revival is not nostalgia. It's evidence of a desire for change. And I think people are tired of noise. They want meaning. They want impact. Okay, so where does LinkedIn fit into all of this? This is also why your LinkedIn presence and profile matter so much. Your profile is often the first impression someone has of you. It's your chance to say, here's who I am, what I stand for, and probably most importantly, how I want to contribute. So when you approach LinkedIn with intention, not just as a resume, but as a living, breathing, so to speak, portfolio of your ideas, you shift it from self-promotion to service. And I think this idea of service is very appealing to a lot of the clients I work with, because self-promotion doesn't feel like anything some people want to engage with. So if you have this lens of service versus self-promotion, you're not saying, look at me. You're saying, here's what I've learned, here's how I can help, and here's what I care about. Now, is this noble marketing in action? Perhaps. Choosing to use your professional presence to amplify ideas that matter is what this is about, to educate your network and to inspire others. I think that's your opportunity. And this is why it matters for anyone who manages the presence of for themselves, their LinkedIn presence for themselves, or for their organization. So marketers need to explore this idea of crafting messages that inform, uplift, inspire, I think also celebrate. I'd certainly like to see a lot more good news than the things we're currently seeing on the news. And so, yes, marketing can then be more of a noble pursuit when that's our focus. And we can be stewards of stories that help society, not just that quick need or want to satisfy a consumer, where I think a lot of marketers and brands do play. I think your opportunity is to be those stewards of stories that help society. And that's why this conversation matters and why I'm dedicating a podcast episode to it today. Because when you look back on your career or your business or your board service, you'll ask yourself, what did I contribute? Did I amplify voices that needed to be heard? Did I use my skills to build something that made a difference? Or did I just add to the noise? So I'll leave you with this. What will you wish you had done when you look back? Will you wished you'd spoken up more boldly, crafted content with more care, or chosen clients whose values aligned with your own? I believe marketing is only as noble as the intention behind it. And for those of us who love words, who believe in the power of ideas, this is our opportunity. It's our moment to choose wisely, to nurture our presence on LinkedIn, and to create content that not only connects, but truly contributes. So before we wrap up, here's one practical step you can take right now. Go to your LinkedIn profile and look at 2 key areas, your headline and your about section. Ask yourself, do they reflect who you are today, what you stand for, and the positive impact you want to make? If they read like a list of titles or skills, reframe them. Use your headline to communicate your role and your intent. Use your about section to tell your story. Why do you do what you do? And how we want to help others. Make sure that's clear for people discovering you for the first time. because that small change can shift your presence from transactional to meaningful. And that's perhaps the beginning of noble marketing. Thanks for listening. I'm Karen Hollenbach, and this has been another reflection on the role of marketing in our lives and in our world here on the LinkedIn Marketer podcast.